Hey, good morning, everybody. Just taking a little bit of time off today, President's Day. Gonna do a little video real quick about hybrid shells and the case thickness. These are all 3 pieces of pipe, and some of the stuff I'm working on now is a readily available 209 base Pyrodex pellet base that you can use to assemble a shell out of these 1.5-inch commonly available plumbing tubing and aluminum tubing that you can find online. I will share my sources here in a minute, but from left to right, this is thinnest to the thickest. This is a 22 gauge 1.5-inch brass plumbing pipe. It's not super soft, but you can see I can move it with my hand strength. So while it is good enough for a shell, it's probably not the most durable choice. It is one of the cheapest, and with my bases, they'll last quite a while before you'll have to replace it. Let's put it back here. Second in line is, let's see what the, I want to say this was 0.026 thickness of an inch. This is a aluminum, and it's much stronger. This is 0.036 of an inch wall. This is from Test Right aluminum. They are actually made for telescopic rods for whatever, for making scaffolding and whatnot. But this one they have is black inside and out. It cuts pretty good. One of the biggest challenges you'll have is cutting these square and keeping them cut square, especially if you're trying to mass produce. So what I do is just use the hacksaw and just go slow, and you can even make a jig for yourself to try to keep it straight, and then use a file to square it off as best you can. But it's Test Right aluminum. They seem to work the best in my opinion for shells. They're lightweight, they're strong, it's not cheap. You really have to hit a pretty big order point to reach the free shipping to maximize that. So unless you're willing to spend the kind of money I'm spending, you're not going to get the break on the shipping. But you can order them in like lengths of like a foot, I think even down to 6 inches. So anyway, that's something to think of. Lastly this is a 17 gauge thick. I mean, it's real thick here. You can kind of hear the difference between the two. I tap it with my ring. This is 17 gauge 1.5-inch tailstock or tailpiece plumbing. It's raw brass. You want raw brass on any of your hybrid shells. If you do brass, don't get the chrome stuff, because your epoxy's not going to stick to it, and you're not going to be able to scratch it up enough to make a difference. It's a lot more work than it's worth. So the pushers that I print, this is part of the issue with 37. There is no standard as far as diameter goes, so you're always chasing the material that you're using, and this one has a little stringer on it. So you're always chasing the material you're using for a shell. So like this is a factory shell that's a surplus old multi-ball shell. It's actually thicker, and you go to seat this in here, you see it doesn't go all the way down. So with a lot of your 37 millimeter, it requires some hand fitting. So you're gonna take like one of those sanding blocks that's foam, and you can sand this down a little bit till it slips in there. Now consequently, the inside of this is real small. It's like right at 35 millimeter, just a hair over. So it's smaller than this. So this is the 17 gauge. This is a standard pusher that's a loose change design that you can print if you have a 3D printer. This is the maximum, I believe it's 0.02 over the standard that they try to create, which is fine. Because if you're creating a standard, it has to be based on one item. So I believe their standard is based off the 17 gauge brass 1.5-inch tubing, which is fine. So if you stick with that, you can print straight and probably won't have any issues. In my case, I print all kinds of stuff. This is a Bengals Bullet impact pusher, and it seats properly down in there quite easily, but it's actually a little loose, so it comes in and out. his are designed a little bit smaller. This one will actually, if you push it hard enough, it'll seat down into this 37mm case, but I'm not going to do that because then it's going to be a bear to get out. So we move over to the aluminum, test right aluminum, and it fits right down in here, no problem. And so does this 2-over pusher. So way to get around that, everybody says, I want a really tight fitting. Yeah, tight fit's nice. And if you load for yourself, you can do it. Especially if you have a 3D printer. I highly advise everybody get one if you're a 37 loader and you're gonna play with this a little more than an occasional shoot. Then it's worth the investment. Now they are an investment and they do cost money and they cost money to maintain. So don't think of it, oh, it's gonna be free. 3D printing is not free, it's far from it. The material costs, the maintenance costs, everything, the power, my power usage has gone through the roof. So so anyway, that fits pretty good in there. And then these loose change, you know, pushers are designed where you can put an aerial burst charge in there, or you can put longer nose cones. I have a small and a medium nose cone that I've made, as well as a long, and you can fuse them. They have a fuse hole that's off to the side. So you go to canonfuse.com, grab your fuse, plug it in there, fill it with some glue from the bottom first, and then put your priming tower in there with whatever airburst material you're gonna have, and then fill your cone up with chalk or whatever else, and put it together. And then when you launch it, charge lights that fuse. Fuse burns up to wherever the aerial burst is, and when it detonates, whatever is inside makes a nice, pretty display. It's chalk signaling. So all the way to the left, 22 gauge. Now, like I said, 22 gauge, when I first was getting into this again, and I found out about the hybrid shells, I found this brass, and it was cheap, and it was from a lamp place. And so I was like, oh yeah, man, this is a deal. So I got 4 4-foot sections for like, I don't know, maybe $30 delivered. So it was really inexpensive. It didn't say the gauge on there. So be very aware when you order stuff online. If it doesn't say the gauge, look for the specifications, look at the thickness. The 17 gauge brass is about that, about what's that, 0.380 of an inch. The 22 gauge is considerably less. Say 0.225, and then the test right is, there we go, yeah, I think that's maybe a bad measurement right at that point. There we go. Yeah, about 0.40 is what it says here. I don't think that's accurate though. I think it's just a burr or something that's catching on. So I'm gonna flip it over to the machined edge here, and I'm gonna measure it. So yeah, 0.37, that's about what I was getting. 0.37, 0.26, 0.41, and then this factory shell that's left over, 0.545, 0.535, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you get the idea. There's differences on all of this, but what I advise is if you're going to make your own hybrid shells with the bases I'm about to produce, get the test right, use this, buy in bulk if you can. I will be buying some, and I'm working on getting a lathe so I can actually cut these with a really precision cut and make the short shells. All my shells are going to be, I'll have short and long is available, but they'll be sold as kits on eBay because eBay is stupid about shells for flares. So sometimes they come out and they ban them or remove your listing, or you have some whiners complain about it. So anyway, I'm trying to make all of mine roughly a 2-inch type shell, and they will work with both the, see, this is what we're looking at. Yeah, these are 1.8. I like the 1.8 length. They'll be at least 1.8, and maybe I might make 2-inch. And the idea is, so when you do seat these pushers in the shell, and you have the base in there, is you want the bottom of the pusher to meet the top of the base if possible, and then that way it contains your explosion inside of the base as well. And my new shell bases that I'm making 209, they're going to be utilizing half-inch copper caps in the bottom. So this is what's your Pyrex pellets are going to sit in. Those Pyrex pellets are, this is about 18 millimeters on the outside diameter. Pyrex pellets are about 12 millimeters across, so there's a little loose in there, but they'll set in there. You'll drill a hole through this where this will set in the bottom of the base, and that 209 primer will still load into a plastic base with a plastic rim. And when it sets it off, this will be epoxied in the bottom of there, and the base will meet the same contour as this right here. So when they set down, they're going to be mated and inside of this right here. So you can kind of envision that. That's what's going to happen, and that's going to give really good velocity, really good consistency. If you have a fused projectile, it's going to light it. And I have some more fused towers that I'm developing that'll be longer, so you can fill them with wood glue or something, so you can give more delay. Do buy Cannon fuse that's slow burning if you're going to do aerial burst rounds, because most of the fast stuff is too fast. I've been shooting them out, and they'll get about 30 feet and detonate before, so they're detonating too early. You can get the impact rounds from Bengals bullets. I don't have any out here at the moment, but there's a primer tower you print. It sits on top of that, and he sells the kits on his website. So if you want to hit it up, it's spelled BENGLES bullets, BULLETS.com. Bengals bullets, all one word. And Ben will get you hooked up with the impact rounds. He has them for the 40 mic as well as the 37. And no, as long as you're not making anti-personnel rounds with impact, you can do impact smoke, impact bird bombs, or I'm sorry, wildlife control rounds. You can do all kinds of stuff, but do your due diligence, do everything safely. If you're not familiar with powder and how it works and all that, you really need to do your homework before you try to do any of this, so you don't get yourself in a pickle, either illegally or safety-wise. So anyway, that's pretty much it right now. Once I get the new bases made, I'll make another video showing the completed base and the completed shell. Anyway, y'all have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.